Good morning, learners. In my last class, perhaps you must have found it in the chapter 3 of Unit 2. I've explained to you the uses of B forms. What are B forms? Their uses, I've explained to you the uses of be and the present tense be forms of is, am, are. All these I've explained to you in length. And today's lesson will be about the past tense be forms. They are was and were. You try to understand this is a small point. Nothing should be doubtful. That's what I mean. That's why I'm taking a meticulous care. You know that in present tense we have am, is, and are. Or is, am, are. You can read whichever way you read this. Good. That's right. These are present tense be forms you know pretty well, which I've explained to you. Now, I'm going to say the past tense of am is was. Similarly, the past tense of is was. The past tense of are were. What do you understand from this? The present tense be forms, for singular we use am and is. For plural we use are. And of these two also, am and is meant for only I, which I explained to you already. The past tense of am and the past tense of is also was. That's what I mean to say. For example, I am a student. In this sentence, I am a student. What is be form? L. As you know well, am. Okay, your studentship is over and you are not a student anymore. How can you make it into past tense? By changing am into was. I was a student. Similarly, in the sentence, you are a student. Well, the be form is are. Well, and the past tense, what is the past tense here? Were. Now, much before that, I would like to hear, he is a student. Here, what is the be form? Is. In order to change this into past tense, what you have to do? You have to change the be form, that is writing was. From these two examples, I am a student in present tense and he is a student in present tense. See, what is the change when they are written in passive voice, past tense? I was a student. The change is only for the be form. And here in the second sentence, he is a student. When it is changed into past tense, it becomes he was a student. Right. From this, you can understand, perhaps, you can keep in mind that in order to change the am, is, are sentences which are in present tense into past tense, what you have to do? You have to replace them with was and were. One more time, I would like to emphasize that the past tense of am is was and the past tense of is was only. That means instead of two am and is, you have one past tense form. Well, when it comes to are is plural, already. Are is used with first person plural we are. Second person singular and plural you are. And third person plural or any plural for that sake, they are. The doctors are, the teachers are, the students are, and so on and so forth. If you find are in that sentence, It means it is present tense, Then how do you turn that into past tense? By writing were in the place of are. You were a student. Suppose it's plural, you are students. The place of are we read on were. The rest is same as usual, So make it a point that is past tense was and am past tense was. That means the past tense of am and is same, that is was. Don't get confused. And what's the past tense of are? Were. Okay, now we can explain this. Let me go to the uses of was and were. Well, the uses of was, especially was and were. The uses of was and were, the uses of was and were are no different from the uses of is, am, or. That is the present tense of be forms, Did you remember the uses of is, am, or? Let me recapitulate again, and then we will proceed. You have understood these can be is, am, or uses. They can be used with as linking verbs. It is used as a linking verb. For example, I am a doctor. Here, doctor is a noun. Am is be form. Here be form is linked with a noun. In the next one, she is beautiful. She is beautiful. In this sentence, beautiful, what is beautiful here? Adjective. So here be form is linked with beautiful, adjective that is. And next one, he is away from town. In this sentence, is verb, It is linked with adverb away. The last use of is, am, or you learnt was he is to retire next month. He is to retire next month. Here, do you observe? After is, what was there? To retire is there. It means I told you in my last class that this is called to plus infinitive. Here, is linked with to plus infinitive. Infinitive is nothing but first form of the verb. For example, in go, went, gone, go is infinitive. Do, did, done, do is present tense. Come, came, come is present tense. Before the present tense verb, I have used this one to. It is nothing but in English is known as to plus infinitive. So these are the uses you have learnt. The same uses can be applicable in case of was and were also. Instead of present tense, you can say she was beautiful. I am a doctor. I was a doctor. She was beautiful. He was away from town. He was to retire. Next month. Now, all these sentences which were in was, and one more were also. They were. Let me write here conveniently so that you can see well. They were away from India. Here word adverb. That's all. Okay? These are very important for you to understand and use was word in the past tense form, Similarly, in my last class, I talked about some more uses of is and am are, What are they, To express age, to express age, we have used, What are they? Suppose I say, he is 25 years old. What else is it if you ask you should rely on is be form. Because it is present tense, it expresses present time, we call it present tense, Suppose he was past of that age, he reached 40 now. Then suppose he says he was then 25, you can say. He was 25 years old then. So whether you write then or not, this was form tells you very clearly, Okay, it's past tense, Well, when I ask you, how old were you then? Or how old was he then, if I ask, I refer to the past time, In such case, you should use was, as you can see in this sentence, he was. Am I clear? And one of the uses you have learnt of is, am, or in present tense, the same would be applicable here also. One more example. We can talk about the weather conditions and the mental state of the people also. For example, I would write present tense as well as the past tense so that you can understand the change easily. For example, the weather is fine. When I say this sentence, the be form is indicates present time. We're talking about in general or the recent times or present time today only. Suppose you're talking about the weather of, you want to talk about the weather of yesterday, last night, something. The change that comes in is was. The weather was fine yesterday. See, very simple, If you are able to understand or digest the uses of am, is, or, these are not rules at all. It is nothing but changing them into past tense. Am I clear, my dear learners? And you can talk about weights, measures also in terms of is, am, or. For example, my weight is 75 kgs. What does it mean here? Here is in present tense. They tell you the present time. Of course, the same question in your advanced lessons you can ask in a better way. I don't want you to confuse with that structure now. As it is, try to understand this expression. It becomes past tense. My weight was 75 kgs, something like that. Past tense, For example, I'm 60 now. In my 60th year, my weight is 65 kgs, But when it was 10 years ago, my weight was 75. When I was, for example, when I was a student, my weight would be more than that. Okay, to speak about, we can say that building, straight away now, that building, the ceiling of that building, the ceiling of the ceiling was 15 feet. The ceiling was 15 feet. That 15 feet then means it was a big mansion, perhaps, big hall in which the ceiling was very, very high and the ceiling of that particular building and how high was that ceiling of that particular mansion? The ceiling was 15 feet or some 12 feet like that. It's a big mansion. Like this, we can talk about. This you have learnt already. It's nothing but using cleverly whatever you just have learnt in the name of is, am, or, here in the past tense form. One more expression with this was and were, I'll tell you. The same you can use with be forms is, am, or also. Then what are they? Sometimes it would be quite easy for us to make certain beginnings, Once there was a king, we say, he used to have 3 wives, Suppose he had 3 wives rather. There was a big queue, Instead of a queue was there, you had better say there is a queue, So when you want to begin after there, you can use be forms. Okay, here it would be, I am coming to past tense now. There was a big queue. Right? You can talk about. There were number of buses. Number of buses. Past tense, It's a beautiful beginning of a sentence sometimes. When you don't know how to begin the sentences, that's the best way to you begin. There is an occasion like that. There was an occasion which made me stupefied. You can begin like that. There was only one student when I entered the classroom. It would be easier for you to make certain beginning of the sentences and paragraphs. It would help you to say story also. So there can be used with present tense also. There are. There is heavy rush at the bus stand today, as today is Mahashivaratri, suppose I say. Because of that festival, many people like to visit all Lord Shiva's temple, So all the buses are full of people, You can say to your neighbor or to your wife perhaps sometimes, who is pestering to take you some place, There is heavy rush. Can say. Suppose your wife can say, there are number of buses, Though there are number of buses run by RTC, there would be heavy rush, or there is a heavy rush, you can say like that. Wonderful beginning, it will help you. With this, I would like to confine or limit myself to the uses of was and were and the constructions of there is and there was also. With this I stop, and in the next class you are going to learn about being and been also.